But this could potentially be used in order to depose their co-stars to ask, what was she saying versus what you actually experienced? Because they could hypothetically allege or try to illustrate a pattern of defamatory conduct.
Penn Badgley is finally spilling the tea on Blake Lively. And y'all, the truth ain't cute. While everybody's been out here fangirling over her Hollywood glow-up and that perfect hair, the real Blake, the one behind the scenes, is something else. Mean girl energy doesn't even cover it. If you think I'm just hyping it up, wait till you hear how she tried to tank Penn's career. Now, Blake's been called out for messing with her co-stars before, but the way she came to Penn, straight up dirty. Picture this. You walk onto a set, ready to do your thing, only to find out that the lead actress, the one you're supposed to have this whole romantic vibe with, straight up hates you from the jump and is turning the rest of the cast against you. That's exactly what Blake did to Penn when Scandal Girl started filming. She even admitted in an old interview that she was the one who turned the cast against him. Those were her words, not mine. She didn't want him there, didn't like him, and made sure everybody else was on the same page. Tell me, what kind of mean girl mess is that? And the craziest part? Penn didn't even do anything wrong. It took the whole cast a whole week to realize that Blake was just out here hating for no reason, and that Penn was actually cool and chill. Like, make it make sense. Now, let's talk about how this all played out over time. Because while Blake went on to become Hollywood's golden girl, Penn kind of fell off the map. He just started making a little comeback recently, but after Scandal Girl, he was pretty much blacklisted. And when you look at it with everything we know now, it's not hard to put two and two together. Blake's influence in the industry was serious, especially after she married Ryan the Dragon. Sis had the media wrapped around her finger, rubbing elbows with A-listers, and had producers eating out of her hand. So when she made it clear that she wasn't messing with Penn, that was enough to put a pause on his whole career. And if you think I'm reaching, doesn't all this sound way too familiar with what's happening with the It Ends With Us cast right now? Aside from being in the middle of this messy legal battle with Justin Baldoni, people peeped that right from the movie's premiere, Blake, along with some other cast members, were low-key icing Baldoni out, just like she did to Penn. Take Colleen Hoover's situation, for example. By the time the truth came out, she was so embarrassed that she had to step back from social media, even thinking about retiring for good. And now that she's back, Colleen has wiped Blake completely off her Instagram. No tags, no shoutouts, nothing. And what does Blake do? She unfollows Colleen right back. Now, folks have been wondering why other cast members haven't spoken up for Justin. But honestly, considering how everything's turning out, they're probably too embarrassed to have believed Blake in the first place.
But this could potentially be used in order to depose their co-stars to ask, what was she saying versus what you actually experienced? Because they could hypothetically allege or try to illustrate a pattern of defamatory conduct.
Turns out she's been pulling strings for years, controlling the narrative and throwing people under the bus whenever it worked for her. This woman's been called out by journalists, co-stars, and even fans. But somehow, she always managed to come out smelling like roses. Well, not anymore though. With everything coming to light, from her past with Penn to this lawsuit with Baldoni, the mask is finally slipping, and people are starting to see her for who she truly is. Now, here's the kicker. After all the hate Blake threw at Penn, can you imagine the shock when they started dating and actually kept a relationship going for 3 years? And then just like that, Blake dipped out on him and ran straight into Ryan Reynolds' arms. In the now exposed raunchy messages she would send to Baldoni, some have even speculated that she kind of liked Baldoni. Same old script as Pennsylvania. Some believe that Penn is just another casualty of Blake's Hollywood power trip, and that at some point she purposely made sure that he never got the opportunities that he deserved. Blake might be a C-list actress who can't get things done without her husband's influence, but she's good at one thing, and we've got to give it to her. She's the queen of sabotage. Meanwhile, while Blake is busy ruining careers,
my relationship with my father, which was very complicated and difficult. My dad was a very, I come from a middle class, kind of blue-collar home, and my dad was just of that generation where it's just like, he was Clint Eastwood, less is more. Simple grunts is how he communicated.
Okay, gotcha.
I think people tell themselves stories, and this sort of comes back to your worldview that you just mentioned about.
I was testing for a show that ended up actually getting picked up and doing very well, and I was one of 2 people maybe, and then I get a call from my managers and my agent, and they were both on the line, which means it's something serious.
Right.
Either you got the job or there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And they said, so you were the choice, but the network said that your eyebrows would be too distracting.
What? Oh no.
And then they went like, so what can we do about your eyebrows?
I've been doing this job a long time, and when you go on these international tours, you're like, you start to say, what's the weirdest show we can do? And at the time, this was before The Masked Singer was in the U.S. So it's like they have this show called The Masked Singer, which is huge in South Carolina. We're doing that show. We have to go do that show.
Marvel just dropped a bombshell on Ryan Reynolds, hitting him with a jaw-dropping $100 million lawsuit that's got the whole entertainment world shook. For years, Ryan was sitting pretty at the top of Marvel's A-list, flipping Deadpool from a niche comic book character into a full-blown cultural phenomenon with his quick wit and no-holds-barred attitude. But now, that once solid partnership is straight up crumbling in real time. Folks had been whispering about some behind-the-scenes drama, talk of power moves, hidden agendas, and messy politics. But nobody saw Marvel coming this hard. Now, everybody's scrambling to figure out why the studio is going nuclear. But one thing's for sure, they're dead set on protecting their brand, even if it means cutting ties with one of their biggest stars. And this whole situation, it didn't just pop up overnight. The first sparks flew months ago when Ryan's wife, Blake Lively, linked up with director Justin Baldoni for a movie adaptation he was directing and co-writing. At first, everything seemed smooth. Justin's storytelling had folks hooked with its deep emotional pull. And with Blake's star power in the mix, this project was pretty much guaranteed to turn heads. But behind the scenes, that's where things got messy. Words started floating around about tension on set. Blake, never one to bite her tongue, reportedly felt like Justin was overshadowing her. Dude was juggling roles as writer, actor, and director, making it hard for her voice to cut through. At first, both sides brushed off the rumors, but the tabloids weren't buying it. They started piecing together little moments of tension, catching awkward energy whenever Blake and Justin talked about creative choices in public. What started as just another case of Hollywood gossip blew up when negative stories about Blake hit the streets. She wasn't having it, claiming Justin's camp was behind the smear campaign. But Justin clapped back with receipts, dropping carefully logged text messages that made it look like Blake was the one pulling the strings, planting bad press to shift the narrative.
She said, just read it, because I was looking for movies that could be commercial and speak to the human experience. And
Were you reading romance novels?
And I had never read a romance novel.
Never?
And she said, just trust me, read it. So I read it, and by the end of the book, I couldn't even read the text on the page because I was crying so much. My wife was in bed next to me, and she's, I got snot coming out of my nose.
Maybe Blake was trying to tip the scales in her favor. Buried in those text logs were little breadcrumbs leading back to Ryan Reynolds, like she saw him as her ace in the hole. She even hinted that if things didn't start going her way, she could tap into his influence and deep Hollywood connections to make some moves. At first, folks brushed it off. Ryan, the internet's favorite wisecracking, tequila-sipping, effortlessly cool guy? No way he was mixed up in all this drama, but the whispers wouldn't die down. Then, out of nowhere, TJ Miller, who used to work with Ryan, dropped a bombshell. He claimed there were secret messages proving Ryan wasn't just in the loop. He was allegedly pulling strings behind the scenes. And he didn't just talk, he brought partial receipts. According to TJ, Ryan might have been helping shape negative press, not just against Justin, but against any part of the production that didn't align with Blake's vision. Fans were stunned, trying to piece together if their favorite funny man had a serious power player side they'd never seen before. Ryan kept his lips sealed, but the streets were talking. The more these allegations piled up, the more people in Hollywood started wondering, was all that charm and comedy just a front for some next-level chess moves? At first, it didn't seem to touch his Marvel status. The drama was making waves in entertainment blogs, sure, but Deadpool's whole brand was built on bending the rules. Fans figured Ryan's quick wit and devil-may-care attitude made him untouchable. Even Marvel seemed unbothered, treating the whispers like outside noise. But then, the game changed. Out of nowhere, private messages started floating around, allegedly tying Ryan's name to some shady dealings, things that might have crossed the line on his contract or Marvel's brand agreements. Suddenly, it wasn't just gossip, it was legal. The exact details? Still locked up tight, wrapped in ongoing legal proceedings. But one thing was clear, Marvel wasn't about to let this slide. But you know how Hollywood is. The rumor mill went into overdrive. Whispers started flying about Ryan possibly misusing intellectual property, cutting secret side deals, or even pulling strings behind the scenes to work Marvel's future plans in his favor. Then came the real shocker, Marvel dropping a lawsuit rumored to be a staggering $100 million. The paperwork mentioned CO claims, which had people speculating it stood for contractual obligations, meaning Marvel believed Ryan had stepped out of line in a big way. Industry insiders say that the price tag isn't just about punishing Ryan, it's about protecting the bag. If Deadpool's brand takes a hit, or if any leaks mess with Marvel's billion-dollar plans, they stand to lose way more than just money. It could shake the whole empire.
About a month ago, this really hit home with me too. About a month ago, I was sitting in traffic and I was just like jamming These Dreams by heart. I was killing it in the car.
And there was just this busload of high school kids that were parked right beside me. I didn't even realize. I looked over and every one of their jaws were just on the ground laughing their friggin' guts out at me.
If they are out here suing for 9 figures, you already know Marvel ain't playing. This is some real serious business. Folks out here whispering that the fallout between Ryan and the studio might be way past fixing. Fans? Man, they're straight up shocked. Ryan was that dude, the perfect Marvel lead, mixing comedy with that easygoing charm that made folks feel like he was one of them. That's the secret sauce in the superhero game. Deadpool blew up because people saw Ryan as the guy for the role, a slick, wisecracking anti-hero who ain't afraid to break the fourth wall. But now, that same dude is staring down a lawsuit so big it could wipe out serious money. The internet has been joking that he'd fire back with some classic Deadpool-style clowning, but so far, nothing. His socials have been real quiet, and that ain't like him. Word on the street is, he might actually be shook, trying to wrap his head around how fast things flipped with a studio that used to have his back. Marvel, on the other hand, is keeping it cool, at least on the surface. They dropped a short, buttoned-up statement confirming the lawsuit but didn't spill any real details. Just some corporate talk about violations of trust and protecting brand integrity, making it clear they ain't about to let nothing slide if it messes with their empire. But read between the lines, and you can feel that sting of disappointment, like they once had Ryan as their guy, only for him to do something, or not do something, that forced their hand in a major way. For a company that usually handles drama behind closed doors, even with their biggest stars going public with this, that's Marvel straight up saying they feel played, and people ain't slow. They already connect this whole mess to the Blake Lively and Justin situation. The real question is, did something from that scandal spill over into Ryan's Marvel business? Like, were there texts, strategies, or inside moves that somehow linked back? If TJ Miller was telling the truth, Ryan might have taken what he knew from working with Marvel, plot details, marketing secrets, maybe even cameo news, and fed it to the right media people to stir up drama or shift attention away from the director's success. Even if it's just a little true, that's a serious problem.
Well, that is also accurate and weirdly high praise as well. It was just one of those. It felt like a live-action Pixar movie. It was something that, I wanted to do something where nobody was being stabbed in the face.
Yes.
There was almost no blood at all. I think I got a little paper cut on the movie. That was about it. And something that my kids can watch, but also as a parent, too, you want the parents need to get punched right in the heart as well.
Marvel doesn't play when it comes to their secrets. Everybody knows they keep future scripts and storylines on lockdown like Fort Knox. So if Ryan did anything that even looked like he was messing with their intellectual property, you already know alarms went off. Some fans think he might have accidentally set this whole thing off by using Marvel's clout to boost Blake's situation. Others say maybe he got too bold at the negotiating table or made some side moves that went against Marvel's strict rules. But so far, crickets. Ryan's team ain't said a word, and Marvel's execs are still keeping quiet on what exactly those CO references in the lawsuit even mean. Legal experts, though, they're side-eyeing that $100 million demand, saying Marvel wouldn't be asking for that kind of money unless they thought Ryan's actions seriously cost them, whether that's lost promo deals, spin-offs, or major crossover tie-ins that depended on their partnership staying clean. Then again, there's always the chance this is just a power move. Sometimes studios throw out these huge lawsuits just to push someone into a settlement, using it as leverage to make them play ball. But a number this big, that says Marvel either feels completely betrayed or just doesn't trust Ryan enough to keep this behind closed doors. Ryan's people still hold out hope that things can be patched up, pointing to how he's always been able to work that comedy magic in promos and business deals. But man, the trust? That's been cracked wide open. Word is, Marvel's worried that any more drama could mess with their bigger picture and derail what they've been building. As for Blake Lively, she ain't in the clear either. She's already catching heat over Justin Baldoni dropping text messages that seem to contradict her earlier story about being sidelined or undervalued. If it comes out that she used Ryan's Marvel connections to play the game, it could shift the whole narrative, one that shows a whole different side of her, maybe not so innocent as the image she's worked so hard to build. The rumors about Blake possibly pulling strings behind the scenes with Ryan and Marvel, they're only getting louder now that the $100 million lawsuit's in the mix. For a lot of folks, this whole mess is starting to look like one big tangled web, with each new piece just adding another hit to a power couple's once untouchable reputation. As for Justin Baldoni, he's been trying to stay clear of the Marvel drama. He's sticking to the story that his main focus was keeping things professional on set, making sure everything ran smooth and respectful. But even he's got to admit that this fallout with Blake, and by extension Ryan, has spiraled way further than he thought it would.
I was testing for a show that ended up actually getting picked up and doing very well, and I was one of 2 people maybe, and then I get a call from my managers and my agent, and they were both on the line, which means it's something serious.
Right.
Either you got the job or there's something wrong. And they said, So you were the choice, but the network said that your eyebrows would be too distracting.
Oh, what? Oh, no.
And then they went like, so what can we do about your eyebrows?
Justin did his best to keep it cool, offering some sympathy when the topic came up, saying these types of beefs can swallow a whole project if they ain't kept in check. But even he was caught off guard by the scale of Marvel's legal move. It shocked him, and honestly, it's turning heads all around the industry. After fighting his own battle to clear his name, now Justin's watching the spotlight shift to Ryan, which has made the whole original drama look like a side story. And then there's TJ Miller, who, ironically, might be the key piece connecting the old mess to this new lawsuit. When TJ first said he'd seen stuff suggesting Ryan was manipulating the media, folks wrote it off as just rumors. But now, if Marvel's investigation backs up the idea that Ryan was using Marvel's property or insider knowledge for his own gain, well, TJ's words might hold a lot more weight now. TJ has kept quiet since then, saying he's letting Marvel's legal team take the reins on this one. Some folks are thinking he's all set to take the stand if this case heads to court, especially if his text messages line up with the evidence Marvel might bring in. The industry's been shook. Producers who once saw Ryan as their go-to for comedy roles are now holding back, just waiting to see how this lawsuit plays out. Out in public, hardly anyone wants to speak on the record about a case that could end in a quick settlement or blow up into a big-time trial. But behind closed doors, execs are really weighing the risk of working with a star who, if found guilty of such huge damages, could end up being too much to handle. Even if Ryan shoots down Marvel's claims, the fact that this is all public raises big questions about how he dealt with confidential info, and if he might pull the same moves in other situations. Fans are torn. Some are ride or die Team Ryan, feeling like Marvel's blowing this out of proportion or using him to cover up their own mess. They point to how Ryan helped Deadpool bring in billions, arguing that this whole thing might just be a small mix-up or a regular contract squabble that's getting blown up way out of proportion. Others are rolling with Marvel, thinking that a brand as tight and controlled as the Marvel Cinematic Universe wouldn't drop a $100 million lawsuit without a real reason. Some say Ryan's comedic image might have hit a willingness to cross lines, and that's what clashed with the studio's values. Meanwhile, the rumor mill is buzzing with what might happen next. Could Ryan try to settle outside court to dodge a trial that could spill some ugly private convos? Would Marvel settle for anything less than a clear-cut rejection of any wrongdoing, especially if the way Ryan moved behind the scenes messes with the future of those big crossovers they've been planning? And what would the public think if more text messages came out, showing just what lines Ryan crossed? As things heat up, folks remember that Marvel's handled actor controversies before, but rarely have they gone this far to file such a public lawsuit. When issues popped up in the past, they kept it quiet, behind closed doors.
Yeah. My relationship with my father, which was very complicated and difficult. My dad was a very, I come from a middle class, kind of blue collar home, and my dad was just of that generation where it's just like, he was Clint Eastwood, less is more. Simple grunts is how he communicated.
Okay, gotcha.
I think people tell themselves stories, and this sort of comes back to your worldview that you just mentioned about.
Marvel's all about keeping that polished, smooth continuity in its movies, so the fact that they're coming out swinging in this lawsuit shows just how serious they think Ryan's actions are. Ryan, usually all over social media, has gone quiet as a mouse. No funny posts, no promo for his new projects, or those fun interactions with fans. Nothing. Some folks think it's just him playing it safe legally, while others believe he might be struggling with the weight of all these accusations. His usual comedic armor, the thing that helped him skate through smaller issues, probably ain't gonna cut it with a lawsuit like this. Legal pros are warning him that even a casual tweet or throwaway comment could come back to haunt him in court, especially if Marvel's lawyers use it to show he's being careless with his contract or doesn't take matters seriously. While the $100 million lawsuit itself is a big headline, the real drama goes deeper than just the money. Marvel's making it clear that they see themselves as protectors of creative integrity, saying that if Ryan really did what's being claimed, it's not just a betrayal of them, it's a betrayal of the whole vibe fans love about the studio. Deadpool's all about pushing boundaries and having fun with things, but if the actor behind him was pushing boundaries in a way that messes with the business side, it throws off the whole balance that made Deadpool a fan favorite. One possibility is that Marvel's $100 million lawsuit could be setting up the groundwork for a rebranding or even recasting Deadpool. If Marvel no longer trusts Ryan to lead the irreverent hero, they might go with someone else, even if fans are diehard for Ryan's take on the character. It'd be a risky move, but keeping an actor in the middle of a mess like this could be just as risky if the accusations turn out to be true. People are hesitant to picture Deadpool without Ryan. His comedic energy was often called the heart and soul of the franchise, but the situation might have gotten too big for Marvel to just brush off. The word on the street is that the next few weeks will be crucial. If Ryan can come through with some solid evidence that shuts down Marvel's claims, or if Marvel's top dogs offer a way to make peace, he might still be able to save the partnership. But if not, a long legal fight is on the horizon, and it could dig into every detail of Ryan's dealings with the studio. There's a chance it might even bring out some of the shady stuff TJ Miller and others have hinted at. That $100 million figure shows that Marvel ain't playing around. They're ready for a long battle, and have plenty of internal messages to back it up, possibly revealing even more about the drama with Ryan and Blake. Bottom line, the Marvel-Ryan showdown is a perfect example of how quickly Hollywood relationships can flip when rumors are flying, secret texts are leaking, and behind-the-scenes power moves start to surface. A comedic star who was once on top, basking in goodwill, now finds himself staring down the possibility of a crushing financial blow, with the studio that made him a household name on the other side of the courtroom. While no one knows how this will all end yet, one thing's for sure. Even the brightest comedic light can flicker when a studio digs in its heels, ready to protect its brand from what it sees as a betrayal, especially when the price tag's a whopping $100 million. Right now, all eyes are on Ryan's next move. If Marvel's legal claims hold up, the man who made Deadpool's wisecracks famous might soon be stepping into the biggest role of his career, defending himself in a lawsuit that could change his spot in the superhero world he helped bring to life forever.